really are helping him in his development.
Blazers go down 0-1 with the loss in Denver. Here's Coach Terry Stotts.
Questions for Coach?
Coach, you've seen them over here. You've seen them a lot throughout the year, but did they bring anything that was surprising to you tonight?
Not really. You know, after watching them, playing them 4 times and watching them 7 games against San Antonio, they're did most things that they've been doing all season.
They got 23 points off 18 turnovers. How important was that, and how much was that their defense on the turnovers?
You know, I thought the 4 turnovers we had at the end of the first half really took away some of our momentum that we had. You know, it's usually a little bit of both. You know, I thought we had some soft plays, soft turnovers, especially at the end of the half. The other ones, driving into the lane, just a couple of offensive fouls. But there's no question that the turnovers they hurt us. You know, it was a good offensive game until, but I thought the turnovers really made a difference.
Terry, how happy were you with the way Ennis played, considering he had a bad shoulder?
Ennis was terrific. He, you know, very efficient, finishing around the basket, playing through the shoulder injury. I couldn't have asked any more from him. He was terrific.
CJ was big in the first half, and Dame obviously had a huge game no matter what they did. With them putting some of their lesser defenders on guys like Mo and Aminu, is it important for those guys to maybe get a higher usage to make them pay a little bit for that?
Yeah. You know, we got to take the shots that are there. You know, I mean, we shot over 50%. We shot 38% from 3. Other than the turnovers, our offense was pretty good. So you know, those guys in particular take the opportunities that are there, and they weren't there tonight. You know, we could look to get them some more shots, take advantage of some matchups on the post, but you know, really, I have a hard time faulting our offense other than the turnovers.
Jokic was a big factor, obviously. Terry, what can you do against him defensively?
Well, that's part of a series. We'll be watching the video and try and figure something else. All right, thanks.
Terry Stotts hoping his team could get even after Nikola. Yet another fantastic game. More coming from Denver.
How did he do that?
Well, there's no joking about the Joker if you're the opposition. Follow up 45 points in a game 6, a triple-double, no turnovers in a game 7. And ho-hum, how dare you, only 37 points and 11 of 18 from the floor, 6 assists, 9 boards. He was brilliant. The team gave him enough. The defense stepped up big late when Portland closed the gap. And Denver kind of forgot about for a little bit, gets game 7, and now gets a game 1. We'll hear from both coaches and players, Casey Stern, D. Fish, Frank Vogel, coaches, coachable. So let's talk about Fish and start here. The evolution of the next level of Jokic. The question was this season, how could he elevate them? He did. Then it was, right, what's he going to do in the playoffs? What have you seen thus far in the playoffs about that next step we're getting here from the Joker?
Well, what I've seen is a confidence and an assertiveness that at times, because of his versatility, he did not always put out on the floor. I think at times he was a more willing passer, didn't always take the game to his opponent. And to me, I see more of a guy that wants to impose his will on the guys that he's playing against. And it's leading to success for the Nuggets.
Coach, 12 of 12 from the line for Jokic. That's the aggression that we're talking about.
He's one of the most unique players in the game. And you know, getting there 12 times you know, at the center position is impressive. Going 12 for 12, the efficiency is off the charts. But you know, to Coach Fisher's point, you know, you got a guy that last year was kind of in a 18 and 10 type of approach. Tonight, 37 points, 6 assists. You see the type of assertiveness that's taking them to the next level.
Yeah, and here's the thing. There were games this year They had one stretch where he had like 2 games in a row where he had taken like 3 shots and then took 4 shots. Because he's so unselfish that his nature is, this is my role with the team, gotta help guys. But aggression, even on the bench, you look at shots during this game when he's off the floor, just almost like an anger to him that like the dog is coming at, like he has never been a soft player, but we're seeing him really kind of almost emote leadership in terms of I'm going to take you on my back. And that was a question people had about him. We knew about all the finesse, but was there going to be a little bit of that strength that you need for a guy who's going to be your best player? We're seeing all that from Jokic.
Yeah, and I think as we've watched this team grow, including Jokic, you're seeing the impact of Mike Malone, the way he's approaching the game, how on a daily basis they're reminding these guys that it's about the team, it's not just about you, etc. And they're receiving that message on a daily basis. But you need your stars to be stars. And Jokic is a star. And he's performing that way so far in this postseason. And the Nuggets are up 1-0 in the second round.
Yeah, I think when you look at getting help from your friends, one of the things that is a very different story from what we had in the first game, with the bench points being now a total of 15 for the Raptors, for example, 2 games in, is everybody's got a roll on Denver, and they all have big plays. Plumlee had that one big rim run. Malik Beasley, coach, had a couple of big plays defensively, hit a big shot. You think about Barton, Monte Morris, and then Jamal Murray, who you need to have make some big shots, and he and Harris both made big shots in the second half.
They definitely did, but the guy that you didn't mention, who I think is the unsung hero on his team, is Paul Millsap. And, you talk about a team that went from, I think, 30th in the league in defense last year to being a top 5 defense this year. Well, they missed him for 3 months of the season last year. And he's sort of a middle linebacker type of defender. He gets everybody in the right spots, and he pulls his own weight. He's great guarding the post, great in the pick and roll, he's great with his hands, blocks shots at the rim, rebounds the basketball, does all the little things. And then when you need to, like you saw tonight, you have a mismatch on the other end, you can throw the ball into him and he can punish smaller defenders. They're one of the few teams that plays with an old school true power forward still in today's NBA. And, he was great tonight, going at them early and setting the tone.
Yeah, and look, they were very active defensively. In terms of steals at big times, they also don't turn the ball over much. And give Murray a lot of credit because at times that's been, you get a little bit too fast because he wants to kind of, which you want, but you got to be careful with it. Look, Fish, 23 points in this game, 8 assists, 1 turnover. And he's not like a true natural point guard, doesn't need to be on this team. But for Jamal with the ball in his hand as much as he has it, it's a really good game for him in game number 1.
Yeah, and some of the question marks about the Nuggets revolve around Jamal Murray. Can he be a point guard when you need him to be? We know he can shoot the ball. We know that he can be explosive offensively. But understanding how to run a team, when to go get your own shot because he can do so, but also how to make sure that the team is following you as a young leader. And he's had some moments in this postseason so far where he looks like their second best player. And tonight he showed a lot of those flashes.
Yeah, Coach, 23 and 8 again, only 1 turnover. Not great shooting from Gary Harris. Hit a big 3 in this game, and for those guys, you're going to need that because there are going to be times where you're going to want them facilitating, and the attention the defense will pay on Jokic. You need those big shots. They didn't get them often, but they got them late and enough tonight in the second half to hold on.
They did. Gary Harris is one of those guys that they have a bunch of on the Denver Nuggets, a guy that can dribble, pass, and shoot, and guard. He really works on the defensive end. And, he's going to make an open shot. He's not going to be spectacular, but, he's not going to be a liability in any way either. And he was terrific tonight.
Look, on the other side, this is how you're dealing with a star and greatness when you talk about Dame because it was kind of quiet tonight in some ways. The shot wasn't where he wanted it to be. He had to drive to the rim more to score. So kind of a different way of scoring. It was a tougher set of 39 points, where, by the way, 12 of 21 is not too terrible either. But 4 of 12 from 3 was not the heat checking that we saw the other night.
Right.
But you can't have him carry that much of a load. And we were talking about this, and I think this is something that will be interesting to hear if they talk about. Look, CJ was not really good in the last game against OKC. Had those 2 big shots at the end. But this is this tag team, this 2-headed monster that coaches like yourself don't want to deal with. You got to find a way, contain as much as possible. He needs a little more help from CJ in those stretches where he's not hitting. And tonight it was tough to find others to get those big shots from deep that Dame was bringing in the last series.
And some of that definitely was the Nuggets. We talked about it earlier in terms of the bodies that they were going to throw at Lillard and McCollum coming off of those screen rolls.
Rodney Hood at 17. There's a positive. Nuggets, though, take game number 1. Here's Coach Malone.
Coach, game one is always pivotal. How nice does it feel to get a game? You had a tough one here 2 nights ago, and then you come back and play this well. I thought it says a lot about this team's resiliency.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Obviously, Saturday night, an emotional high, winning a game 7. And, that was probably my biggest concern about tonight. Obviously, worried about guarding them, but how would we react from that emotional hangover? And I thought the guys did a pretty good job. Obviously, defensively, we have to be a lot better moving forward. Defense was not part of the game from either team tonight, but we were able to get enough stops. And Jamal, Nicole, and Paul were terrific. And guys off the bench like Malik and Mason also stepped up. You use the word resiliency, and that's very appropriate. 12-1 second nights of back-to-backs, that shows you who our team was in the regular season. And tonight, that's kind of what this game felt like. So proud of our guys for showing that.
You scored 90 points and 2 3-pointers in Game 7. Tonight was a completely different story. Do you have a preference?
Wins. Yeah, I mean, for me, if we win 90 to 88 or we win 121 to 113, obviously winning is the most important.